What's going on? Welcome to the 2021 edition of the Off the Schneid preview series, where I'll be going over all 32 NFL teams, breaking down their roster, schedule, giving you a record prediction, as well as helping out with some betting tips. If this is your first time on the channel, hit that subscribe button, and if you like what you hear, go ahead and smash that like button as well. Don't forget to check the description for links for the Off the Schneid social media and interact with me directly. I want to give a massive shout out to OurLads Scouting Services and OurLads.com, as all roster and depth chart graphics are straight off their site. If you've never been, go check them out immediately. I use their site for all NFL, fantasy, and betting purposes, and there's a link in the description for their site. Again, do me a huge favor and hit that like and subscribe button, but enough of that, let's get to your favorite NFL football preview. Taking a look at the Dallas Cowboys starter quarterback, Dak Prescott. Rain Dakota Prescott has been my guy personally. I'm not a Cowboys fan whatsoever, but I've really liked Dak Prescott for his entire career. There is audio evidence of me saying he was the number 2 quarterback coming out of that draft. Obviously wasn't drafted to the 4th round, so that made me look really good, I thought. But you know, on the flip side, I said Jared Goff was number 1, so there you go. But either way, Dak Prescott's the guy. As long as he's healthy, he's the guy. What kind of bothers me, the only thing that the Cowboys aren't doing that I keep telling them to do, is get a backup quarterback. You know, again, they're sitting there with Cooper Rush, Garrett Gilbert, and Ben DiNucci. None of those guys are guys whatsoever. You know, if an injury should happen to Dak Prescott, they're absolutely going to have to bring in a vet. And honestly, they probably still will by the time training camp kicks off. If there's a guy or two that get cut, and they're going to bring, I do think they probably will bring in a vet, but I don't understand why you don't draft a guy that, in like the 4th round, 4th, 5th round quarterback that, you are drafting to be your backup. There's nothing wrong with that. Like, there's not a quarterback draft in the 4th, 5th round. There's no pressure for him to start whatsoever. Maybe look at a guy like Jake Fromm. I don't know, a guy like that. Like, I don't know. There's lots of guys that'll probably be out there, and I think they do address it before the season kicks off, but we'll see. Either way, Dak Prescott's your guy as long as he's healthy. As far as the passing stats, obviously there's a bunch of different quarterbacks that played, but the total passing stats for the Cowboys last year, 4,510 yards, 25 touchdowns, 13 picks. In my opinion, especially in a 17-game schedule, if Dak Prescott's playing all of those games, you absolutely go up on those numbers. Absolutely, you move up, especially on the touchdown total. Probably a little bit more yards. Interceptions probably stay the same. But there's potential there. There's absolute potential there for all those numbers to go up. We'll move to the running back. You got Zeke Elliott, obviously still a guy, 3rd round pick. Or round overall pick, 4th overall, I believe, by the Cowboys 2016. Tony Pollard is a very, very good backup. He also contributes as a change of pace guy, that sort of thing. He contributes on his own, but he's a very good backup and handcuff type of a guy in fantasy formats. Rocco Doodle, I'm not sure if I'm even saying his name right. I don't know if he's the guy. I honestly expect them to potentially bring in another running back as well. They definitely, there's a bunch of guys there that compete, but you're going to need like a 3rd running back that you potentially might need to call on just in case. You got to bring in a guy, and that's easy to do. So I think that they probably will, whether it's in training camp or before the season starts, but I'm not concerned about either of those spots. Like I said, quarterback or running back, as far as depth is concerned, not a super huge concern. Move to tight end. Blake Jarwin comes back after ripping his ACL. Is either ACL or Achilles. I think it was ACL though. In the first half of the first game last year, Dalton Schultz took over and looked great. He looked very, very, very good. And with those 2 guys, you got a lot of depth. Jeremy Sprinkle comes over from the Washington football team, just to, again, add more depth. He probably makes the team. Those are the 3 guys at least. They probably only carry 3. They're not running a ton of 2 tight end sets at all. Obviously, with their receiving talent, that's a poor way to run your offense, in my opinion, if considering what they have at wide receiver. So those three guys are probably the guys. We'll see if it's an interesting battle in preseason between Jarwin and Schultz for who's going to actually be the starter. Jarwin might have he might be the front runner, but with the way Dalton Schultz played last year, he absolutely deserves an opportunity to earn that spot. We'll move to the wide receiver spot. They're looking fantastic. CeeDee Lamb, I really, really, really like. He was my number one receiver by not a huge margin, but he was my number one receiver last year. And they got an absolute steal when they got him. That was criminal in my opinion, but they didn't need a wide receiver realistically at all. But when he's there, you take him. And they did. Great job. Michael Gallup's obviously still there, former third-round pick. And then Amari Cooper is, the wide receiver one. Realistically, actually, I'll get there in a second. Semi Fehoko, fifth-round pick. Really, really, really like, the potential for that kid. I think he's like 6'4", ran a 4.4, maybe a 4.3, something like that, like 220. Oh man, like his potential is through the roof, in my opinion, for Semi Fehoko. I really like what he might be able to do. I think he probably becomes the fourth wide receiver on this team. He'll get a little bit of work, but he's not going to get a ton. But we'll see how that progresses moving forward. There's a potential that Amari Cooper isn't on this team after this year, and maybe Semi Fehoko becomes, a starter, but CeeDee Lamb becomes that wide receiver one. I expect CeeDee Lamb to take over that, sort of title, if you will, as the number one receiver on this team this year. And then we'll see if Amari Cooper is still a Cowboy after 2021. But I really like Semi Fehoko, really, really like him. Noah Brown, Cedric Wilson are still there, depth guys. Wide receiver has always been a position on the Cowboys where, it's very desirable. Since Michael Irvin, it's always been just like a desirable position. You know what I mean? Like, wide receivers with the star on their helmet, TO, like it's always been a desirable just thing in football, is to be a Cowboys receiver. So anyways, we'll see who plays and how it gets sorted out in preseason. But beyond those three realistically, and I really like Semi Fehoko in a fifth-round draft pick. I think he makes this team. But beyond Cooper, Gallup, Lamb, Fehoko, I don't really care, if I'm being honest with you. Like Noah Brown, Cedric Wilson probably are the front runners to win that, fifth, sixth wide receiver spot. But we'll see. I'm not really that concerned unless an injury occurs, which you don't plan for. And a point I want to make about this team, especially in a 17-game schedule, I think there's a very good potential that there's going to be 3,000-yard receivers on this team. In a year where Dak Prescott missed the majority of the season, Cooper was a 1,000-yard receiver. CeeDee Lamb was only, 65 yards away. 935 yards for CeeDee Lamb, 843 for Michael Gallup. And then, with Dalton Schultz having 600 yards, almost, 340 for Zeke, like with another game, there's absolutely potential for 3,000-yard receivers in one offense for the first time since 2008. The Cardinals, when Kurt Warner was chucking the rock out there. It's only happened 5 times in the history of the league, but I think there's potential that happens this year for the Dallas Cowboys, and I think that'd be really interesting to see. Move to the offensive line. Tyron Smith is getting older. That's a fact. He's getting older. He's only 30, so he's not like exceedingly old, but he's the same age as Zach Martin and been in the league 3 more years. So, he's been in the league a long time, taking a beating from some big fellas for, a lot of years. So it's catching up to him. It is. His health is catching up to him. I'm not saying he absolutely can still get the job done. It's just, he is getting up there, and the miles on him are getting, the tread's getting thin, if you know what I mean. Connor Williams was a left tackle in college. He's been very good, interior since he was drafted in 2018. I think he had like an ACL or Achilles or something like that when he was drafted, and he fell. And he's been very good, so maybe he moves back to left tackle. I don't know if you want to do that, but either way, he's an option. Tyler Biadasz and Connor McGovern are both good, very good. I think they're good centers. If they're not right now, they will be. They're still young. They can still take that step. Centers seem to take a little bit to develop, in my opinion. You need a couple years to get there. It's difficult. It's actually a fairly difficult position to play, in my opinion, especially young. Zach Martin, fantastic. He's still good, can get the job done. I'm not worried about that. La'el Collins, very good. Not concerned about that at this time. And they do have some backups. So here's where it kind of worked out. They definitely allowed way too many sacks last year. They were, bottom 5 roughly in the league in sacks allowed, and then let's call it bottom 10 in sacks allowed and getting after the quarterback on your defense. So in my opinion, it's no secret how you win in the NFL, and the Cowboys didn't do a good enough job of either last year. I think that they do progress in both fronts, but we'll kind of get there. Those snaps that Terrence Steele and Brandon Knight basically had to take last year, I think those were just very, 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 very valuable for those two guys. They got some very valuable experience starting at an NFL level. They kind of got thrown into it, but again, just super, super valuable reps for those guys. Josh Ball comes in the 4th round this year. Ty Nsekhe, I think is how you say it. I could be wrong. He comes in from Buffalo, older vet, quality guy to have should injuries occur. And then Matt Farniok comes in as well as a 7th round pick. So as long as they stay healthy and a couple guys progress, like I said, those reps were very valuable for Terrence Steele and Brandon Knight. They might not have been great players, and they might not have you may not want to turn to these guys, but they might end up being guys. You never know. You got to give them a shot, and they have to fail before you can say that. I'm not necessarily ready to say that they failed. So there you go. I'll leave it at that. If they stay healthy, they're a very good spot, but we'll see. New defensive coordinator, Mike Nolan is out. Dan Quinn is in. I think that's an upgrade. I like Dan Quinn. I think he's going to do some good things with this defense that, in my opinion, is approved. So like I was saying, and I said this about the Carolina Panthers as well, I really like what they're doing because they are doing exactly what I'm saying. Not that I'm saying I'm the smartest guy around, obviously, but if I see holes and I say that this is what I think a team should do, and then they do it, it makes me happy. And that's exactly what the Cowboys have done in the past 2 drafts. So I'm very happy with what they're doing, with the exception of not drafting a backup quarterback. That's the only exception that I'm not happy with them. But either way, they brought in Osa Odigizua, who I think has a potential to start for this team. Quentin Bohanna, backup guy most likely. Micah Parsons is my favorite defensive player in the draft, was my favorite defensive player in the draft this year. I think they got an absolute steal there. I wasn't particularly expecting the Cowboys to take a linebacker or Micah Parsons, but that is unreal that that's a great pick. He's going to be the leader of this defense for the next 10 years. I guarantee that. So there you go. Jalen Smith, Leighton Vander Esch, Keanu Neal might play a hybrid, safety linebacker type of a role, coverage, that kind of thing too. So I do like that. Jabril Cox is one of my favorite linebackers in this draft as well. They got him in the 5th round. I thought he had 3rd, 4th round talent at least. 3rd might have been a stretch, but 4th round talent, I thought. Yeah, man, they're in a good spot. They're doing what they can. They're absolutely addressing a huge hole, which is obviously on defense. They're addressing it. They're doing what they can. They're getting good guys and plugging them in, and we'll see what happens. I think Terrell Basham looks like he's buried in this defense. Comes from the Jets, playing 3-4 outside linebacker. He played defensive end in college. I think he moves back to defensive end, and there's potential that he starts on this team. Neville Gallimore is not a defensive end. That's one thing that OurLads has wrong. He's 300 pounds. He's an interior guy. I think there's potential that he starts as well. But Terrell Basham could be that other guy. Randy Gregory's still there. Bradley Anai, I really liked, a little bit undersized, but, if he can get the job done, he can get the job done. And then D-Law, is the best defensive player probably on this team. Actually, I think Parsons probably is now, but regardless. He's the best pass rusher for sure. So, you know, they're progressing. They're progressing in the direction that they need to go. And I think they absolutely take a step forward with, you know, Micah Parsons, Trevin Diggs getting an extra year, obviously his first year of experience. And then Kelvin Joseph comes in. Their safeties, you know, can use some work. Reggie Robinson, they have penciled in as the starter. OurLads does. I'm not sure if that's actually how it goes down. DeMonte KZ, like I said, Keanu Neal's still there as like a hybrid safety potential, you know, linebacker. Donovan Wilson, Israel Mukwamu, I really like him as well. I think he has the potential to play some meaningful snaps for this team. Like I said, Trevin Diggs, Jordan Lewis is a very good nickel corner. Nashawn Wright might be a guy. Like, they're doing what they can to address a need. And it was a huge need for this team, just defense in general. I think with Dan Quinn coming in, adding a couple pieces, a little more experience, this defense absolutely takes a step forward. They need to be able to get after the quarterback at a better clip and then protect their own. With all that, they're absolutely a playoff team. So let's take a look at what I got projected for them in 21. 10-7 is what I have projected. I think that there's absolutely potential that they finish higher. If you watch all of these NFC East breakdowns, I have the Cowboys, the Giants, and the Washington football team all at 10-7. I have the Cowboys as the highest potential, and I probably will be betting the Cowboys to win this division. I think that they are the top, you know, team overall in this division. I think it goes Cowboys, football team, Giants, Eagles. We'll see if it ends up like that. So 12-5 on the high side, 9-8 on the low side. I'm not sure 9-8 gets them in the playoffs. We'll see. It's going to be interesting with that extra game. I'm going with 10-7 just because, like, I do think that there's potential. Now, I might have been a little bit light, but they play some good teams on the road, especially early in the year. So let's kick it off. Actually, we'll talk about the odds. 2.1 to 1 on your money for the Cowboys to win this division. I will likely be betting the Cowboys. I think that they've just done enough. They're fine offensively already, so I'm not worried about the offense whatsoever. The defense, they've done everything they can to be a better defense, a better unit, a better team. They've done everything possible. So, you know, how can I not, you know, kind of reward them with my money and my bet and my confidence, right? That's kind of where I'm at with it. So I kind of have to put my money where my mouth is almost with the Cowboys. This is how I feel about it, if I'm being honest. So there you go. Now let's break down the schedule here. Week 1 against Tampa Bay Bucks on the road. I just don't think they're going to be able to get that win on the road in week 1. It's the Hall of Fame game, Thursday night game. It's going to be tough. I just don't think they're going to be able to get that win. I really don't. And then it gets tough. Like, they do have some extra time off before they play the Chargers on the road as well. That's going to be a tough one. I could see that game being an absolute smash fest shootout. That game is going to be the game, you know, circled on all DFS players absolutely are going to be keying in on the Chargers versus the Cowboys. Both somewhat weak defenses, super strong offenses. They're going to throw the ball. I think there's going to be a lot of points. That might be the game to watch. I'm not sure who's going to win that game. I have the Chargers. I projected as the Chargers winning at home. It's a very winnable game for the Cowboys, but I projected, even with my breakdown, I projected the Chargers to win that game. We'll see. And then it eases up on the Cowboys. Those 2 games are tough to start the season, so here's a weird thing. If I'm looking at teams that I'm thinking are going to win the division, I really look at their first 2, 3, maybe 4, but 2 games for sure. If you're starting 0-2, your odds percentage-wise to go to the playoffs, win the division, all those kind of good things that the Cowboys are hoping to do, and I think they're, you know, I'm projecting them to do. If you start 0-2, your odds of doing that drastically decrease. I'm still projecting them to win the division, but you know, which is strange. So we'll see. They're going to have to come back from that, which I think is doable. The next 3 weeks, Eagles, Panthers, Giants, Cowboys are the better team all around in all of those games. They're all at home at AT&T Stadium. I think they get all 3 of those wins. You know, I'm not going to say with relative ease, but I think they get all those wins. I'm comfortably giving them those wins. On the road against the Patriots, that's a tough game, a very winnable game. But the Patriots defense is very good. If Stephon Gilmore's not a Patriot, I think I will probably switch it and give the Cowboys that win. But I projected that the Patriots get that win at home. I just think their defense is very good, very, very good. And, their offense is, I think they're just going to run the ball a ton, an absolute ton. And that could be a bit of a weakness for the Cowboys. So like I said, I projected the Patriots to win, but that game is close to the Chargers game. They're just different games, but they're close as far as like who's going to win or who could win. Then they have their bye week in week 7. If I'm the Cowboys, I want a later bye week. I'm thinking I'm a playoff team. I want to be a playoff team, all that kind of thing. So if they go into their bye at 3-3, they're not going to be super excited about their season. I mean, realistically, it's still so early that, there's tons of time. It's not a huge concern. But if I'm the Cowboys, or if I'm any playoff team, I want to know what I got to do. You know what I mean? Like, I want to know what I need to do coming out of my bye. I want that on my guys' heads. I guess early in the season, if they're 3-3, they know they got to go out and win some ball games. So maybe you do, but either way, bye week 7, they come out of their bye, play Minnesota Vikings on the road on Halloween, Sunday night primetime game. I think that's a very tough game. I think the Vikings are much improved. I think that's absolutely winnable for the Cowboys, but I did project them to lose it. Even though I'm projecting 10-7, I did project them to lose to the Vikings in Minnesota. At home against Denver and the Falcons, I think they get both of those wins. I think they beat up on the Falcons, if I'm being honest. With Denver, I just think that their offense is just much better than the Broncos' offense. The defense of the Broncos is much better than the Cowboys, but the Cowboys are improving in that regard. And their offense, the Cowboys are going to be able to score on the Broncos. Are the Broncos going to be able to score on the Cowboys? I'm not just going to give it to them. So I think the Cowboys get that win, especially at home. On the road against Kansas City Chiefs, Chiefs aren't losing too many ball games this year. They're going to get that win at home. At home against the Vegas Raiders, they absolutely get that win and beat the Vegas Raiders. At the New Orleans Saints, I projected the Cowboys to get that win. I think they're a better team overall. I think they're absolutely going to be able to score on that defense that isn't as good as people think, in my opinion. The Saints defense I'm talking about. So I think that there's potential that they could go on the road there and get that win. It's a Thursday day game against Vegas. I think that must be Thanksgiving, American Thanksgiving. I'm not sure. I'm Canadian, so it's I don't know exactly when American Thanksgiving is, but that must be that game. So they have a full week before they go on the road and play. It's not a short week in New Orleans. Is kind of what I'm getting at. So I'm giving the Cowboys that win in Mercedes-Benz Stadium. On the road against Washington Football Team, I'm splitting these two. Cowboys and football team, they split. The Giants, I'm probably splitting as well. So they lose their next 2 games against the football team and the Giants. Then they play the football team again at home at AT&T, another primetime game. Cowboys get that win at home. Arizona at home, I should say, sorry. The Arizona Cardinals at home. I think that the Cards are going to be very good against the run, which the Cowboys are good at, but they're going to be very poor against the pass, which the Cowboys are good at. So I think they're going to be able to throw up and down on this team, especially at home. I think the Cowboys beat the Cards quite comfortably. And then they get the win in Philadelphia to end the season, because it will most likely be a must-win game for the Cowboys. They're not going to be sitting anybody, so I think they absolutely beat the Eagles on the road. And then we'll see where they fall in the low-high-my here. Like I said, I am picking the Cowboys to win this division. I did last year as well. Obviously, with Dak getting hurt so early, obviously it got away from them. They were still in the race, which is crazy enough, because that whole division was just terrible last year. I think it obviously improves. I think it's just a very tough division to project, which is why I have 3 teams finishing 10-7 in a bit of a toss-up, 3-headed die basically, kind of a thing. But I do think the Cowboys are the front runners. I think they deserve to be. They obviously are as far as the betting odds are concerned, and that's probably who I'll be laying my money on to win this division. So there you go. Let me know what you think in the comments there, but there's your breakdown for the 2021 Dallas Cowboys.